Hello everyone, Hopefully an OK Editor 357 here, and for today's video, I will be reviewing the visual novel Beyond Your Window, a visual novel that, if nothing else, has taught me that I should definitely keep the curtains to my window shut lest I become the subject matter of a visual novel.
Oh no. How long have those been open for?
I'm so alone!
Hello everyone, Hopefully an OK Editor 357, the person famous for not owning a Sumi body pillow here, and like I said before, today I will be taking a quick look at the visual novel Beyond Your Window, which was developed by Team Solitude and released on August 28th, 2020. Today's review might not be as long as my usual reviews are. This visual novel is relatively short, and I think much of its impact could be lost if I were to go too in-depth with specific story details. That being said, I will still do an overview of the story, its themes, and what I thought of it, before moving on to the artwork and soundtrack per the usual. All that being said, let's hop straight into the plot summary and discussion of the game's story. Beyond Your Window follows a nameless protagonist as he looks outside his window in search of inspiration for new stories.
Because nothing says good storytelling like mild stalking.
Wow, that guy's making a really good-looking hamburger. And by making a really good-looking hamburger, I mean he is stabbing someone and witnessing a crime.
While looking through your window, you catch glimpses of other people's lives, and the game goes through 4 short stories filled with simple but interesting narratives, with choices you make leading to a variety of different endings for each of the stories. Here is a quick, very vague synopsis of each of the 4 stories. Story 1 is about a game director of a small studio dealing with issues close to a new game's release. Story 2 is about a student who really wants to call someone named Laura. Story 3 is about the conversation or fight between a married couple. And Story 4 is about a lonely girl waiting for an important call. Throughout these stories, you will make important decisions, some timed and some not, which will lead to a variety of different endings for each of the short stories. And that's the story of Beyond Your Window. The thing I admire most about this story is that it takes its very simple but relatable narratives and weaves important stories out of them with very interesting outcomes based on your choices. While each situation is different, and some people will definitely relate to one of them more than the others, they each wonderfully showcase the importance of human relationships and self-acceptance. Just like real life though, we're all human and screw up sometimes. And I like that there are endings which aren't afraid to show the sadness that comes with life sometimes. But instead of just having sadder endings for the sake of variety, Team Solitude makes it a point to show there is meaning and importance to be found even in that sadness and suffering, and that life goes on. And if we can accept what happened and work to make tomorrow better than yesterday, then things are sure to get better. So to summarize, Team Solitude does a great job of crafting a variety of short, impactful stories that showcase the struggles of life, and the importance of not only relationships as a whole and self-acceptance, but also of the importance that making mistakes and the seemingly hopeless at times nature of life can have. Moving on to the artwork. The artwork is very unique. Instead of going for the usual anime art style of most visual novels, Beyond Your Window has a more surreal, almost watercolor painting look to its art style. I think this very real-looking and unique art style adds to the atmosphere of Beyond Your Window, a story which is steeped in realistic and relatable narratives. The art is well drawn, and I especially like the details in each of the main backgrounds. Overall, I think this different but realistic and very well drawn artwork looks great in Beyond Your Window. The soundtrack is the only aspect of the game I'm not a huge fan of. I think the title screen music is good, but when it comes to the vocal tracks that play for the introduction to the stories and the ending credits, I wasn't a huge fan. It might just be personal preference speaking here. I'm also just not great when it comes to elaborating my thoughts on music, but I see Beyond Your Window as more of a relaxed, introspective experience. And the choice in music for the intros for most of the stories, or for the ending credits, seem to clash against that feeling I got a bit. All this being said, it does feel like it matches with the art style weirdly enough, but not necessarily the atmosphere of the story itself. I don't know, it's weird. I'm not sure what else to say about the soundtrack. If anything, it doesn't detract from the visual novel at all, like it's not ruined by its soundtrack, but I think I would have liked even just one softer track that plays throughout the whole visual novel, as opposed to most of the tracks. Hope at least some of that made sense to everyone watching. One thing I will say is I noticed when you start a new story, and the title sequence for said story comes up, when you click on it to end it, the music just stops abruptly and it's very jarring. I think a simple fade out and maybe a transition to the start of the actual scene would go a long way. That being said, however, aside from that minor nitpick with the abrupt stopping of the music, the sound design to Beyond Your Window is absolutely brilliant. The sound design, aside from the story itself, might be my favorite aspect to this visual novel. There's so many little details in the sound design to truly immerse you in the scenes you're witnessing. Whether that be sounds coming from inside the apartments these stories are taking place in, or sounds coming from the outside like the sounds of cars driving by that seep their way inside. I love the amount of effort put into the immersive sound design, even going as far as thinking about how noise from outside houses or apartments still are audible from inside them. I think sound design is a very underrated aspect when it comes to visual novels. Sure, if a visual novel has bad sound design, it's not going to ruin the whole game for me if the other elements are good, but making each location feel truly alive via the use of well-timed and realistic sound effects can go such a long way to immersing me in a story. And safe to say, Beyond Your Window does just that. So, overall, Beyond Your Window is a relatively short but unique visual novel that uses a series of short but relatable narratives to show the importance of human relationships, self-acceptance, and even the importance that comes with the harder times in life and making mistakes. The last two things I mentioned, about acknowledging even the importance of the tougher times and mistakes we make in life, are things I don't see touched upon often in visual novels, and I think Team Solitude managed to convey this message extremely well. Also, like I mentioned earlier, amazing sound design. So I rate Beyond Your Window a 9 out of 10. You can download Beyond Your Window for free on itch.io, and I will leave a link to the game's page in the description. Now onto the Who is Best Girl segment. And the best girl of Beyond Your Window is... Lonely Girl. Yes, that is her character name. Because I really want to keep the story of Beyond Your Window as spoiler-free as possible, I won't talk about why she is best girl too much, or at all. But I will say I especially liked her story and endings out of the main 4 stories. Well everyone, I hope you enjoyed this quick review. For anyone who has played Beyond Your Window, what did you think of my review? Did you agree with my score? And which of the 4 main stories was your personal favorite? And for anyone who either hasn't heard of Beyond Your Window or was maybe trying to decide whether or not to play it, I hope I did a good job of reviewing it and maybe convincing you to give it a try. Thank you everyone so much for watching, and until the next video, see you guys.
Because nothing says good storytelling like mild stalking. Because nothing says good storytelling like mild stalking. Because nothing says good storytelling like mild stalking. No. How long have those been open for? No. How long have those been open for? Oh, no. How long have those been open for? I'm so alone. I'm so alone.
Wow, that guy's making a really good-looking hamburger. And by making a really good-looking hamburger, I mean he is stabbing someone that is witnessing a crime! Wow, that guy's making a really good-looking hamburger. And by making a really good-looking hamburger, I mean he's stabbing someone I'm a witness to a crime.